Hello, Black pupils. Connecticut news locations and their families and their sources, including judges, prosecutors, and their family members and neighbors of people that are associated with them. They're in the process of making confessions. Also, when they pretend other, they have collusion slash S with the World Trade Center attack and with all sides with that. Also physically, I have the Ninth Circuit Court next to it, at the hotel or motel next to it, and spots next to the World Trade Center in the attack context, with people involved interstates, Washington D.C., Connecticut interbranch, Weathersfield interbranch. They have rules with identity theft, fraud, slanders, plenty of fake motivations too. Ugh. Increasingly, they're calling attacks in on themselves. People involved with Jesse Waters campus, Trinity College, has they're extorting or torturing, even if it's self valued, the the principal or the leader of the school. Um, and there's a Dean Alford further involved with people involved with the proven principal child abuser. That have Weathersfield mayors involved with wire crimes and Weathersfield police and other police departments involved at the locations next to the campuses too. They have their roles with the military, with the Afghan leaders and kids involved with medical corruption. They have the roles with Pakistan with medical corruption, also with identity racketeering, worse than war crimes. They have the phrase from the river to the sea, pretending passions and emotions against that, relative to where and to how slavery was entrenched north and south before our founders were born, sickly distinctly and functionally, how sickly non distinctly is left out by everybody's logic. And our campuses employed criminally foreign influence and the counters to it as collusion slash S. Now, the locations, areas, and states are trained to hide secrets that they confess and demonstrate roles with, because are also the directors of the agencies were are used remotely the same way leaders of countries A through Z, including our own, are only allowed to be self-valued roles with locations, areas, and state styles of positive treatments and negative treatments in collusion, as collusion slash as to keep from being discerned the human fact, human nature, predicate acts with facts, methods involved here, black pupils. Here! The World Trade Center has all kinds of physical delusions and other nature delusions and identity delusions associated with your campuses as actually recorded. They have been stacking on a mass scale predicate acts with facts into databases and fake motivations for roles with it. Increasingly, Trinity College has roles with people with the name Zano, involved with planting evidences at corners of streets and with the word Jew, as one of the only words I ever heard him speak, Jew. He plants evidences with some mayors from Weathersfield involved with medical racketeering and child offenders, sexual and medical. Increasingly, people tied to a Mr. Hagenbar, who was my gym teacher, has conversations with people per them. I don't know, I have a personal conversation with them. In other words, planting evidences with him and other coaches too, and their family members, with overt criminal enterprises and private ones, and those with medical community involved with racketeering, fake ties in me. They have a teacher of mine who is a speech class teacher who has roles in Washington names. Increasingly, Central Connecticut State University and Trinity College have roles with the name Pandolf and people associated with them intercities. And I don't know the Olsons involved with Trinity College. Mr. Neville has roles with my neighbors, with wire crimes, with Weathersfield Police, in the intelligence community, with a whole bunch of people with Vermont and Maine and Canada and New Mexico, overt criminal enterprises, private ones, but Cuba before the World Trade Center attack. In that context and sense, they have roles with the Constitution's abridgments and pretending for other reasons. Their roles in the furtherance of screening and furthering the abridgments of the Constitution. For example, how they instituted tactically, effectively. The World Trade Center attack was used to make roles and syntax in nature, self-valuing roles with torture, also used to pretend that people talk about it, that they were tortured and they said something. A Leahy family has roles, fake conversations with me through the mail about relative legal cases they lied about, also with the news, and pretended conversations with me since I was a kid behind my back with other doctors, foreign and domestic. These are people from Pakistan involved with Tucker Carlson and their roles with what are you doing with the hills and nuclear technology? What are you doing? What are you hiding with these people? I don't know what your excuse is. Get the interbranch on paper, one name in sequence. I want the Judge Smith and the ties to him, the other names of the other judges, even female judges with the sick guy, with like that Detective Samuda involved with wire crimes and girls with who various natures of sexual abuses of the girl and with the ones with the principal child abuser. That Central Connecticut State University has roles with the campuses in Weathersfield through time. We're also with people with the military from Central Connecticut State University in Yukon who have been planting evidences, and with the religions in the religious spots with their roles with identity theft, fraud, slanders. And that's also relative to where and to how we have black people's rights about. We have the same color eyes and different color eyes at the same exact time. When you guys want to have a nature debate about things, like we're going to have a nature debate about someone defending how they want from the river to the sea while they're in people stacking where you can't grow food. That's a torture, extortion, slavery method. People are dying. You're going to protest the protest. Now, it's a different reason if you protest to have that and how there are foreign bodies involved. Because there's a hyperforeign, though. You guys bring it up before and you leave out the hyperforeign. Even if you don't discern it, if you would just be sane, it would be revealed. Just like how the difference between the founders that our founders had to counter extort and George Washington and the founders behind James Madison with his plan that George Washington agreed to use. There's a big difference understanding how the Constitutional Convention went down. You can move every detail about it. Leave that out. You don't know as much. So the experts on the law, the experts on each of the sciences, they want to defend themselves through systems, tactical terror. They want that to be valued where it is not. So Russians in America, Weathersfield lawyer, Weathersfield retired Weathersfield police chief's lawyers, and you're gonna have to get personal ones too, because he has roles with wire crime acts and methods and people, police making confessions about their roles, switching names and falsifying police reports, putting fake motives for it too. Before I ever raised my voice and forced people to call the police, I caught them with this Dylan planting evidence on all sides of my house with people tied to them increasingly. Increasingly, they have roles with the Connecticut, with the Weathersfield Community Center, and with this with the names on off the state corrections offices, on off the state. They have these are behavior racketeering natures, black pupils. Wait till you see the sick souls that are pretending they had conversation. And then with there's exceptions where real short conversation, you have sick best, you have sick natures putting whole fake things in place of that where there's no conversation. So let's see what they do. In other words, the Institute of Living has a whole bunch of people involved with predicate acts personally and professionally on my street. And they use those places to run in to hide life progressions, fire departments because of their roles, whatever they're doing with the nuclear, Shafir God, the hide and plot. Increasingly, what are you doing with the Elm Streets and Weathersfield and Rocky Hill with this John Mayano and these people tied to the Harper Hospital with the mental health place too, that Institute of Living houses like people on Mayano recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed that has something to do with his roles with sequence shifts and with the natures putting fake things in databases at the schools he went and with the people whose names keep being brought up intercities tied to it, as the ones with the wire crimes of the Weathersfield police, also switching names and planting evidence on all sides of my house still. I'm going to get you on the paper with one name and sequence. You guys have rules with violence with overt criminal enterprises. They have the overt criminal enterprises and private ones timed with the interbranch, putting fake things, fake uses of drugs in databases too, with the people involved with it, with them personally and professionally. New Britain Superior Court's families and Harper Court's families and their personal and professional ties, all involved with the same house, like this Cololo house, with a whole bunch of people with the borders in different countries, people from Korea and with people with the Demora and their roles with home break-ins and little tricks with those wire crime maxim methods, fake conversations. You examine when I was a freshman, I didn't even hang around. I don't even know who they hung around with all through high school. There were illusions, and I took part of it a little bit because I learned from that. Other people say whatever. In other words, they're putting fake things in database all sides in criminal and civil cases at the same time with the interbranch and the exceptions tied to them in a whole bunch of different countries. They're used remotely where they speak for difference. Black pupils, we have the same color eyes and different color eyes at the same time to begin with. How the discernment of how nature uses difference the way we know, but also in ways hyper additional that we can discern too, but we're not being allowed to reach this, this. We have polling campuses and criminally foreign influence, research campuses, criminally foreign influence. There was all kind of criminally foreign influence uses of pretending to care about police and how they're unmarked. Unmarked police are criminally involved with the overtly criminally foreign influence, tactically delusion wrought police departments, little punks on Facebook with child offenders, leaders of the kids, all natures of sheriffs and things like that. There's some black KKK themed military police involved with the Joshua Schumacher as one of the ones who are Jewish themed with a former Mayor Gold and his family with identity theft, fraud, slanders, and this Jew word repeating Paul Zano and people further with Whiting Forensics planting evidences with a Phil Cololo and others involved with child offenders proven and further recorded. You should fear God to hide and plot. I want them on paper now. I want that judge. I want that's Detective Samuda and FBI Director Luskin and the courts involved with them with the confessions and requests for help on paper too. I want the confessions. They also demonstrated that true. They're switching names with Officer Hunter too at the Harper courts after the World Trade Center attack too. They were recorded confessing. And Ron Adams also brought up you guys playing games. I'm talking about acts they're putting fake wire transcripts. They're putting fake transcripts on off campuses of all ages and between them. Every campus I went to had people from off campuses with the intelligence involved with this. Also, the difference of that is employed. It's also they're needing to hide that, and there's being shown this is manifest now, temporary, in New York City. The same way manifest sustained at Hollywood are natures of debate and natures of news as collusions with criminally foreign influence identities of sciences and their short words and convictions, which are delusions wrought with criminally foreign influence, factory nature, quality aspects of nature. The truths are increasingly used to lie on a mass scale by locations, areas, the states, the hair. Okay, the big people say Israel is always right, and that's not the names A through Z are sickly distinctly being heard because how sickly non-distinctly is functional to the hyper foreign to be left out and or to be blamed on other things, others or selves, even when correctly, exactly the way it needs and needed. So you want to have you want to have debates about why people say hateful things out of sequence. They're framing. They're also keeping the blamed on. Right now in New York City, there are people stacked upon. There is real, way worse than poverty, but it's claimed poverty because there's shock and awe, and you guys don't know how to respond syntactically because you had your American history taught wrong. Tactically, and then what's that knew that would make the breaching method knew that there would be natures that would be self-valuing excuses like pretending people didn't do homework, pretending not to realize the imposition of overt criminal enterprises and private ones have been grouped and maintained, self-cultivated for reasons tactical ulterior than pretended. We're in how they have all natures of groupings, self-value uses of syntax descriptions of it as systems technically ulterior from how nature uses groupings. Nature uses how we are as a species body of individual bodies with grouped different /s for the identity of the hyper simultaneous per science. that is more capable than this only allowed to be heard black pupils. It's nothing against. I I love everybody. I don't care. In other words, I love not sexually, but I don't have. In other words, I want what's positive for everyone at once. But I also want to fight with a bunch of fakes, and they want to have the nature debate where you leave out black pupils, whites of eyes. Where you want, that's where you do it. It's against the law to pretend that you don't like something because of something you said or something like that, or something where you heard in a database. Even if the difference between the FBI changing or the police forms changing what's written was actually written online, or the courts. In other words, too, that doesn't, or the people involved overtly with, in other words, also with the name Mick. In other words, I don't know if it was McDonald's oriented or names oriented with the intelligence community associated with Joshua Julian and his neighbors and the conjunctions and adjacents to his street. Where I saw it on a map, I'd never been to his house. He was attached me to fake locations, fake ties, fake nature that ties to himself and to his roles with predicate acts with facts on my street and his roles with people with home break-ins in my area who also live here. I have roles with the Weathersfield Police and wire crimes, switching names, and with the FBI. Fear God! I want them on paper with the World Trade Center too, where they attach me and others at Central Connecticut State University. They had roles leading up to the Ninth Circuit Court. It was right next to the World Trade Center with the names on up the World Trade Center, the Ninth Circuit, and the spots next to it. Increasingly, a Scalora family is recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed through intelligence in their roles with the foreign along roads and routes and on off campuses and roles with identity theft, fraud, slanders, fake ties, fake trade natures of ties to people. On campuses filmed 24/7, rolls with that, putting fake things, no one's checking. Same people rolls with putting fake things in medical campuses. So let's see what this Ryan Adams says. Ryan says, you have to help. What do you need help with, Ryan Adams? Ryan says he has stomach out. Ryan Adams keeps telling lies, pretending I'm a doctor, and making up things with proven child abusers, principals, and more Weathersfield police chiefs and people he named Powell, and other people he named and start switching names. Then he brought in Judge Napolitano's name, said he was at a wedding with him. He says, so we see the people in New York City, and we see that overtly. In other words, they're not defending the kids' safety. And where they are defending the kids' safety, that's collusion too. The difference of it is also used. Increasingly, a whole bunch of people with the intelligence community recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. A Klotz family is also involved with the FBI and the military, foreign and domestic, involved with sexual and medical offenders at Hartford Hospital. I never seen them there. I don't know that. They never said that. Then they have their roles with the people at the corners of the streets, planting evidence at Central Connecticut State University. They said that. And before they came to my school, other people also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, which I found out was military too. Roles planting evidences with mayors and with medical families, attaching little kids and their to fake conversations with themselves, with their teachers, and with others, and with the fake and changed communications with their own family members. A Leahy family has been using investigators remotely since I was a kid, as his collusions with various natures of federal criminals and organized crime, bodies and killers before they got caught, people on off the body dumping spots involved with them, people involved with other child abusers, leaders of the kids with them. They have women and their families involved. They have their little kids involved, sustained with judges and prosecutors' kids, That's an overt criminal enterprise at the same time, same ones, has their roles on off the state corrections offices. See how they had different reports and news in different states too, I believe, with the as it was reported. I forgot who reported it. Next to the state corrections offices at the corner at the corner of Franklin Avenue and Jordan Lane, and Weathersfield and Hartford, the conjunction there. They had one of those spots where it was reported a street takeover, and all the kids show up and they spin cars. See their behavior racketeering roles on and off campus, especially with science teachers, has something to do with a bunch of people at Central Connecticut State University and Trinity College, and tied to them at other campuses they went. They had time roles with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and their medical families, their educators, since they were kids planting evidences. Eric Oliveri recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed by girls at Trinity College. He's one of the ones that has been lying about himself and others, also with Joshua Stryker, involved with them. I didn't want to sell drugs through UPS with them when I was a kid. What I said about being there on Facebook, they used that to hide what was recorded, as is actually recorded. So they're playing little punks with the state judicial branch offices, planting evidences with people named Oliveri. Involve my teachers with federal crimes with them, and putting fake things in databases so they would have to hide life progressions, fake ties and nature's ties to me, fake feelings about me. And federal evidences, crimes, roles, child abuses. So, in other words, these are also some black KKK themed interreligious spots, themed child abusers and natures. So they are dishonestly. In other words, it is true there are focused attacks on in other words, I saw people standing ignorantly on campus and blocking some kid. In other words, and people didn't know. But first of all, black pupils, we don't stay. We stay with those first things entrenched before our founders were born. Those things that were involved with the torture, extortion, and factory miniature slavery of our founders, and behind James Madison, who then went and got George Washington agreed to use their plan to counter, extort, and force other founders at 13 locations. Syntactically, too. And right before the last battle of the Revolutionary War, having secured the phenomenon of the counter extortion of Weathersfield, Connecticut, and having had to leave slavery entrenched distinctly north and south with that, and the witch trial place right next to it, regardless of who made that up or what extent was made up or what, too, because that's also evidence if you look at it that way, because we know that slavery was entrenched, and we know that is a part of it, no matter who made it up or what it was about. We know that it was about people that were tactically delusions raw and lying, because that was only allowed to be capable of themselves per the breaching method, the torture, extortion, slavery method. We know that it propagated demonstrations of that, and where those people would be increasingly apart with even hyper additional bad things, bad acts, natures, and use /s of names, in instances descriptions as collusion /s, such as with Ron Adams and his police friends in their conversations, because they have roles of obstructing justice and with child offenders, sexual, medical, and judicial, and military. What are the military doing with this Cololo name, and with the DeMauro name, and with the Hanson name, and with Church Street names, with the military, with the police, and the news, planting evidences at corners of the streets, their sources. Get them on paper, one name in sequence, and one name in sequence. So you have bad people involved with coming from other countries, and the counters to them as collusions because they have uses of words like drugs. In other words, how long have they been putting you put kids in jail? You put adults in jail for a plant. In other words, a marijuana plant. In other words, and then they have all kinds of. Meanwhile, they have things at the same time. They have synthetic drugs and things that knock people over. In other words, they weren't even expected before they had marijuana legalized. You guys are playing tricks with facts and with nature and with relativity and with priorities, black pupils. In other words, the sciences, they creak, they leak, so they value directions to hide things because their use of location /s exactly the way the breaching method knew they would use it. It deciphered what our founders left us overtly / counter insidiously to discern. But we're not being allowed to deal with overt reality properly. You guys want to have nature punk games with the word Jew and with the words like hate speech out of sequence, as sequence shifting collusions with sick child offenders involved with this. They have the religious spots of the people around everyone, with everyone speaking to other one as fakes. Then they get them locked in and then start planting tricks to pretend to make, in other words, that's what they're doing. They have investigators remotely on my street, intercities, Trinity College, and names that live next to them and work next to them, including the fire department. They have roles with names planting evidences on my street. All exceptions, exception nature that appear to be in demonstration of other come with demonstrations. The same thing in their roles with the World Trade Center attack has something to do with the Keene Cultural Center and the kids' conversations on off there with as the ones with the overt criminal enterprises and private ones, on off the state corrections offices, on off the state judicial branch offices, and the conjunctions and adjacents to it. There's also a guy with a red van, or a red pickup truck, and he was playing football in the field across the street from my house, who is further involved with medical offenders of the kids on off the state judicial branch offices. People with the name Potter have tied to them Chet Casper, and people all along Route 175 in conjunctions and adjacents to it who have wire crimes with former mayors and overt criminal enterprises and private ones not legitimately with unmarked police forms. Harper Hospital also brought up the name Casper involved with them with people also recorded involved with the name Smith and people involved with Afghans in the Wethersfield town offices and library, further involved with whiting forensics in other countries, planting evidences at crime scenes and on off campuses, and with their sick natures and backgrounds, black pupils. You have sick people with various natures, of overt criminal enterprises and of private ones, and roles with conscious uses of insidiousness to the logic of A through Z. We have other critical things in spoken and thought in place of those increasing truths that are generating other truths because they come with revelation because they are true always. In other words, the Constitution is supposed to be gotten unabridged. So, in other words, hate speech is a part with wire crime acts and methods, predicate acts with facts. The news people in New York are also personally and professionally involved with the people, like with the name Klotz and their teachers, with this mayor, former Mayor Gold, mayor, and with the religious spots too, and overt criminal enterprises. And the former mayor and the witness protection program also involved with them with their timed collusions, uses of the corners of the street, Fairlane Drive and Griswold Street, people pretending passions and emotions tied to that street increasingly, with the witness protection program involved with them, and people people that plant evidences on off campuses. A Joshua Stryker involved with identity theft, fraud, slander against me, with people with UPS, also involved with people from Greece, not wanting to be collusions, and people from MIT and Boston College. not wanting to be collusions while these police forms and people on up Central Connecticut State University. But he had a girlfriend who was involved with a whole bunch of people, different boyfriends at the same time, including one as the son of reportedly the son of the guy who was involved with the leasing on Covington Street, who has roles with various natures of organized crime and predicate acts with judges and prosecutors and their family members and sources, including with child offenders, sexual and medical, and other neighbors of theirs involved. These are people in New Britain on Covington Street who are also involved with the names on Zion Street next to Trinity College, with the names on my street involved with them through time, like O'Brien and Colella with Newington police families, Rocky Hill police families, Weathersfield police families, the ones switching names to fear God. Oh! And their behavior racketeering, attaching people to fake behavior, change behavior, because they can't be honest with the calm or with aggression, because they are psychopaths, black people. And they pretend that because of no, these are people that were shown that they could be discerned having used words like crimes after they committed and are involved actively and needing to be increasingly with predicate acts with facts methods. They should fear God for having blamed on other things, others ourselves, which that what really is being and having been demonstrated regarding the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts and natures in New York City. Before and right through the murders, you guys are missing the predicate acts with facts method slash S involved. Black people, you have the means to see, peer. You have the means to peer, to see the hyperclear. So let's see what else this guy said. I would appreciate if you would do funny things for me. Today is my birthday. It says Ryan Adams. So, oh, they left. That's one of the guys. Planting evidence is online, also with a Joshua Julian, inter platforms. Also on Twitter, there are upskirt natures further with the FBI involved with a Joshua Julian and people with the Coast Guard. And there's a difference between males with the intelligence community and females. And the females have been repeating fake things, then pretend we have conversations when they make statements as confessions too. Ugh. Has something to do with their roles with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, his co-defendants, their family members, and the corner of their roles with corners of streets and their neighbors. Same houses involved, slash S, and their roles with how their roles with state police in Rocky in Vermont, Connecticut, Rhode Island, the ones named Jensen have confessions and recorded roles all along their Berlin Turnpike with the intelligence community, like with state police there associated. There are people with the name Spada who and Delafera who have probate court judges involved with medical racketeering, identity theft, fraud, slanders, sequence shifts, wire crime acts and methods, attaching kids and their families to fake communications with themselves and others, fake location, sequence shifts, spreading lies about people behind their back that never even had classes with them, making fake exceptions where there's no means to counter. In other words, and including intercities. So including the Scalora is also with people with intelligence with East Hartford and with Glastonbury campuses, further involved with child offenders and with their roles with Central Connecticut State University predicate acts and predicate acts methods relative and relevant black pupils. We're not going to leave out the predicate acts with facts method slash S, clearer than day, discernible. We're not going to leave out how from the river to the sea, you are not free, New York City. We aren't going to leave out how the people speaking for Palestine are a certain type of victim slash hyper victim predator slash hyper predator that came through criminally foreign influence campuses in collusion with psychiatry, our countries, and they have them tied to courts and prisons, putting fake things, all kinds of predicate acts with facts, tactically delusions raw to black pupils. These are people who are going to speak for world justice. These are people who are going to speak for the impositions put on us with the negative value nature progressions of peaceful nuclear technology. It means by let alone weapons. In other words, and that's their solution slash ask. The same punks they put up as groups. That was everyone who's going, well, what's the solution? You can't afford the solution. Solution is right here. Follow mandated law. Well, stay on the predicate acts with facts we caught you guys with, and give up your sources. Fox, Connecticut News, WFSB, and WTNH. Then you don't have to get sued. We can keep it personal. There's a Roger Suzanne, and I believe he's one of the ones involved. He's also involved with you guys all along Route 3 with stories, with your roles with kids, and has a pattern of roles with all sides of criminal and civil cases, and pretending to be about unmarked police forms. You have the acting professors involved planting evidences with you guys. So I don't know if that was a real beating or what. There was a kid reportedly beat on Route 3, beat up, and his phone was taken away. That's one of the people involved with overt criminal enterprises, private and interbranch, planting little lies about themselves and others and fake motivations for it. So even if that was real, they have collusions with that street, with predicate acts, and with child abuses, identity theft, fraud, slanders, like something all along Route 3. Their roles with a whole bunch of different countries and all sides with the World Trade Center attack. Connecticut's roles as the ones on off the campuses planting evidences, also with their neighbors, in other words, and of their extended family members, the same thing. I don't know if it's a politician or what, people with the name Luigi Guerrero. He's involved with the Miami family and a whole bunch of people on medical locations, all along roads and next to campuses too, planting evidences with the news. Dear God, get them on paper, one name and sequence. I'm going to show you something.